Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us on the 2026 Guide to Publishing Jewish Books. My name is Yehudit Singer-Freud, and I am the founder and CEO of Singer Publicity, and I'm also the creator of JewishBookVillage.com. I have been working in the Jewish publishing industry for about 16 years now. And as you can imagine, the landscape, especially for Jewish authors, has changed tremendously throughout this time. There's so many different opportunities, and we're going to talk a bit about them today. Every day, I work with authors at all different stages of the publishing journey. Those who are trying to finish their manuscript and need an editor, a developmental editor, a proofreader, those who are searching for the right publisher, trying to figure out if they should go with a traditional publisher or perhaps self-publish, and of course, those who want to strategize their PR and marketing campaigns. So today, we're going to talk about what it actually looks like in today's climate to publish books of a Jewish nature. And we're also going to talk about some tips on using this time to make real informed decisions so that you can create a clear path for yourself and choose the right path for your book. So first, we're going to talk about what publishers look for in general and in Jewish books. So if you were to ask this question 10 years ago, specifically about books related to a Jewish theme or Israel, the answer would be pretty straightforward. They are looking for clear writing, a compelling narrative, a clear audience. And today, the answer is much more complex. All of us know and have heard that anti-Semitism has increased significantly, especially in the past few years. And the situation in the publishing industry, unfortunately, is no different. There's a tremendous amount of pushback. There are editors and publishers who have asked authors to remove portions of their book that relate to Jewish identity and Jewish peoplehood and Israel. And so the situation is actually pretty tough out there. So today the answer is much more complex. It's not that the stories are not in demand. Our stories are absolutely in demand. And there's definitely a curiosity about Jewish life, about Israel. But they're also examined through more filters. There's much greater scrutiny, there's greater sensitivity, and in general, publishers are very much concerned about optics and marketability. So, like I said, there's a lot of pushback, especially with regards to anything connected to Israel. But if you're an author who is looking to publish this year, just knowing that situation already puts you a few steps ahead because it clarifies the reality and it also will help you make stronger, more informed decision. So let's discuss how publishers think. When an acquisitions team looks at a potential book, they're asking a few core questions internally. They're asking, is this a narrative that will resonate with a sizable market, that will make it commercially viable? They are asking, who's already buying books like this? Where does the book sit in, where would a book like this sit in a bookstore? And how would we describe this book in one clear sentence? For books related to Jewish life, Israel, they might ask, how much does this narrative resonate with a broad audience? And can those outside of the Jewish world relate to this narrative? Who is the author? What kind of following do they have? This is because many, many publishers, including in the Jewish world, in the mainstream world, hybrid publishers, they see their publishers, their clients, also as their partners in terms of getting the word out about their book. And so it really is vital for any author to already have a following. And that means that now you could be taking steps to develop your own following. We're going to talk about that soon. So publishers, and this is across the board, they're not only evaluating your writing, they are evaluating reach and marketability. This is what makes them commercial and profitable. And that's just the reality of any large industry. Two of the biggest things they're looking for then are universality and relatability. Not, is this Jewish? But can the wider world enter into this story intellectually and emotionally? Will they buy this book? And that shapes a lot of decisions. So clearly now, the reality is that mainstream publishers are extremely risk sensitive. Budget is a huge issue. They're focused on the commercial aspect mainly. And it doesn't mean, this is really important, it doesn't mean that they are inherently anti-Semitic. Now, of course, unfortunately, there are certainly those who are acting out of ignorance or out of their own personal, politics. And there are those who really are giving into the zeitgeist now. There are those who are tiptoeing. They're cautious about backlash, about public controversy, and about optics. I have heard from numerous writers who are at all different stages working with various publishers, various editors, and they have been requested to remove some of the Jewish elements and the Jewish characters of, in their books. And so the situation really is difficult. And I have a feeling that many of my colleagues in the publishing industry would echo this. In fact, I have heard them echo these sentiments as well. But it doesn't mean that your book is not important. It doesn't mean that your voice is not important. On the contrary, our voices, our stories, our narratives are more important than ever. And if you're watching this presentation today, it means that you care about your narrative and that you're working on something that is close to your soul and close to your being. And that deserves to see the light. There is definitely an audience out there for your book. It's a matter of defining who that audience is and figuring out how to reach them. So this means that you need strategy. You need to do your homework. And so if you're called to write, then this is the time. Obviously, we can't control politics, but you can control positioning. You can control who you align yourself with. So we're going to talk about a few different ways to go about this strategy and to do your homework. The first tip that I would like to offer here today is to use Amazon as a research tool. Go onto Amazon and find 3 or 4 books that are in a similar genre and have a similar audience and tone to the book that you are looking to publish. And observe, take note of the publisher, take note of the title and how their cover looks. Take note of any particular wording and the categories that the book is into. Take note of any keywords that you can, pick up on. And then you're going to look at the publisher's website, take note of the other books that they have published. And if you see that there's a similar tone, similar values, similar messaging that resonates with you, then know that they could be a good option for you. You should also look at some of the well-known trade publications, such as Publishers Weekly, Kirkus Reviews. Again, have a look at religion and spirituality, have a look at the novels that are coming out, at politics or Middle East studies, wherever your book fits into. Observe the kinds of books that are coming out and see who is getting buzz, to have a look at who is reviewing these books and take note. Now, it's really important to keep in mind that you are not in competition with any of these authors. You're not in competition with any of these books. Every book is its own entity, just like you are your own person. And so at this point, you're creating a frame of reference for yourself. You're orienting yourself and giving yourself kind of a guidebook and a blueprint for how your own book is going to play out. So you want to ask yourself early on, am I writing for an inside Jewish audience, or can my book resonate with a broader audience? And if so, how will it resonate with that broader audience? Is this a window into the world of book, or is it a conversation that you are having with our own community? How would you describe your book in one compelling sentence? So you don't have to dilute your voice, and you absolutely should not dilute your voice. You don't have to soften your identity or try to hide your identity as a Jewish author or become someone else. But you do have to package it wisely, and you do have to align yourself with a supportive network of people who are going to help you get your book out there. So now we are going to talk about publishing options for today. So even though the situation is not so great, and like I said, there is pushback, luckily today there are a lot of options. And we're really lucky because technology has opened the doors and made things a lot easier for those who are eager to get published. So first, keep in mind that not every book needs a mainstream publisher. There are certain things that mainstream publishers do that definitely increase visibility that self-published authors and even those who work with hybrid publishers, we can do ourselves. And we will get to that in a later episode. So some of the most impactful Jewish books coming out these days are actually coming not from mainstream publishers. They're coming from hybrid publishers. They're coming from independent presses, which are also called indie presses. And they're also self-published authors who own their own communities. So the question is not, can I get a publisher? It's which publishing path gives the book the life that it deserves. And so I think this shift in mindset is really everything because 10, 15 years ago, there was a certain stigma to having a book that was self-published. And that stigma doesn't really exist anymore. In fact, it has enabled, self-publishing has enabled and empowered people to really get their books out there. So there are pros and cons to each of these different options, whether it's going with a hybrid publisher, an indie press, or self-publishing. There are definitely pros and cons, and we will talk about those pros and cons in another episode. And just keep in mind that what worked best for one author isn't necessarily the best solution for you. There are questions that you're going to need to ask yourself, such as what kind of budget do I have? What kinds of time do I have to invest into driving this project forward? Do I have the wherewithal and the resources to hire the right editor, to hire the right graphic designer, to create the cover design, to do the typesetting, to do the marketing and the PR? Or do I want to work with professionals, publishers, or hybrid publishers who will take care of the production? So we will get into that at another time. And of course, if you want to discuss this one-on-one, then you're welcome to reach out to me and book a consultation call. We'll put the link down below. And so if you want to publish in 2026, now is the time to start creating the foundation. It's the time to start building. So first, start doing some research. Like I said, go on to Amazon, look at Publishers Weekly, Kirkus reviews, and see what's coming out now and what's come out in the past 6 months that has really gained attention. Take note of who the publishers are. Take note of who reviewed the books. And start to gather a list of your strategic contacts. This is going to be a mixture of professional contacts, colleagues, personal contacts. And remember, even though the Jewish people are all over the world, I really do believe that we still live in a shtetl. And so everybody knows somebody. It could be that your colleague knows a journalist or that your cousin is a podcast host. Everybody knows somebody. So start thinking of that preliminary network of people who you're going to turn to help get your book out there. Include in that list some of the trade publications, like I said, Publishers Weekly, Kirkus Reviews, Library Journal, because those trade publications actually do have the potential to help you sell many, many books. Start to get a clear definition of who your audience is, who is the reader, and try to come up with 2 or 3 profiles of who those readers are. How old are they? Where did they go to university? What are they reading? How did they get their information? Are they using social media? If so, which platforms are they on? And so I am going to close with this, that I have seen that Jewish books have been called high risk. We are not high risk, and we don't need anyone's permission to bring our value and our voice out there. So whether you go through a traditional publisher, hybrid publisher, indie press, or self-publishing, the power comes from being informed and from doing your homework and from being prepared, not necessarily by being chosen. So if this conversation has helped you today and given you clarity, then please spread the word and get in touch with us. We are at www.singerpublicity.com. You could also check out our new platform, jewishbookvillage.com. And when you're ready to book a conversation, book a consultation call, we would be very happy to speak with you. So we hope you have a great day, and thank you for being here.